Hi folks, today what I'm doing is I'm changing the oil later on, but first I'm going to check the valve clearances. I'd actually done this yesterday. I've never done it before, and I done it yesterday, and grandkids were round. I was trying to do a video at the same time, and when I look back at the footage, it was just a jumbled mess. So I'm going to redo it today and just sort of show you the steps that need to be taken. As always, it isn't a how-to or a definitive work on how to set the valve clearances on a Royal Enfield. It's just me doing my thing, and it might give you some pointers as to how to do it. But again, as always, check with the proper service manual and whatnot, disclaimer stuff. So yeah, so the first thing is to remove the petrol tank. It's bolted at the back. There's one bolt at the back. It's held on with a couple of rubber bungs at the front. You have to undo the fuel tap, an electrical plug, and two breather pipes to get the tank off. And then once you've done that, there's the coils and things on a bracket, so you need to remove them and lift them, tie them up out the road with cable ties, and then the rocker cover comes off, and the gasket and this wee plate here, that comes off as well. And then you turn the engine over to top dead centre, which is in here. You take this cover off, and there's a 17mm. You need a long 17mm socket to turn the engine over anti-clockwise until you get to top dead centre on the crank, which I'll show you when we get to that point. And then loosen off the adjusting nuts and adjust the tappets to the correct clearance with feeler gauges, tighten them back up, gasket and rocker cover back on, this thing, that thing, and then reassemble the bike. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll get all my tools and everything ready, and I'll crack on with it. Right, so first things first is to take this bolt out, and it's 8mm this side and 10mm on the nut. Let's see if that's loose enough. So that's that out. I'll just keep the nut and bolt together, and then you lift the tank up and pop a block of wood under there, so you can then get at the fuel tap and the electricals and the breather pipes. So I'll go get my block of wood, and I'll be back in a wee second. So that's the tank jacked up on a block of wood here. The next thing I need to do is remove the fuel pipe. Now it comes out of the tank obviously, and it goes to this plug under here. It's got two yellow connector things on it, little tabs that you push in to remove the pipe. So you have to push them both in. There's one on either side. So you push them in and pull the pipe back. It's always a good idea to have a bit of paper towel here just to catch the wee drip of petrol that'll come out. Right, so here we go. I found it easier just getting a finger in either side and then pulling back, clicking these things in. There we go. That's just that little bit of fuel that's coming out. So that's that done. I'll leave that in there just now. And so we now turn our attention to the electrical plug that's under here. You'll see the wire for it. That's the wire for it there. So you follow it along. It's it's hidden up inside, and it's got a rubber boot over it. So you pull the rubber boot down, and there's a tab that you press, and then pull the plug down. What you don't want to do is yank on the wires. I'll try do this working around the camera here. There we go. So that's the tab, that's the rubber boot, and that's the tab that you press in. So you press that wee tab in, and that's the plug out. So the next thing is the two breather pipes. I can't really show you them because they're tucked away up inside, so what I'll do is I'll pop a picture up the underside of the tank with the pipes on and the pipes off, and then once I've done that I'll lift the tank out the way and then I'll get back to you. So that's the tank off. When you put it down, it's a good idea to tuck the fuel pipe out the road underneath, make sure the lip of the tank's not sitting on it. So we're now in here. These are the two breather pipes on either side, and this all gubbins here has to come off. So there's two bolts that hold this bracket on. One there, one there. Don't need to worry about that one at the bottom. But the top left one has an earth strap attached to it as well, so you need to remember and put that back on reassembly. So what else I done was I took this plug off, I took this one off, and also the one at the back here. I unplugged that, and then I moved everything up round. Sorry, plug cap as well, that has to come off because the plug needs to come out or get loosened off before trying to turn the engine over. So I'll get these all unfastened and tied up out the way with cable ties, and then I'll get back to you once I've got that done. There's nothing hard about removing two bolts. Okie dokie, so we're round the other side of the bike now. I'm going to remove this plug and the three bolts on top that are, well, the three fasteners that are holding the rocker cover on. So I'll remove all them. What I'll do with the spark plug is once it's out, I'll sit it back in and just give it 2 or 3 turns just to hold it in place, and then that'll be loose enough to allow the pressure out as the piston rises when I'm turning the engine over, but it won't let any dirt get in. So spark plug first. The torque for the spark plug is 12 Newton meters. So I had that set yesterday. It seemed a wee bit tight from the factory, but there we go. Let's see, get my fingers. A couple of more turns, I think, and that'll be it. There we go. That must be about it. Jeez, that's a long one. Might as well leaving the socket on, actually. Right, come eat your bugger. There. So that's the spark plug out, and I'll put it back in and sort of carefully turn it in just a wee tad. what you have to watch and not do is cross thread it. That would be expensive. So there we go, that's it in a 2 or 3 wee turns. So the socket I used, a long socket, it's marked 10mm, and it's got the wee rubber bung up inside as well to grip the spark plug. It's quite often spark plugs are buried the way down. In modern bikes, they're like a twin cylinder, they're on top and they're buried the way down. So you need quite a long spark plug to get in there. So I'll now get my little 10mm socket and get these off. That's it. So in the service kit from Hitchcock's, they supplied replacement rubber grommets, and sorry again, these fasteners are 12 Newton meters, between 10 and 12. So you get this rubber grommet. It's got a metal lining inside. The ones that I took off were chewed to bits. So God only knows what happened to them at the 300-mile service, or if they were there from the factory, I don't know. Because looking at it yesterday, the valves were really quite tight. Why am I putting that back in? Valves were really quite tight, and like I say, these rubber grommets were chewed to bits. So yeah, wasn't very happy at that. So I'll go round, I'll take these other two off, and then I'll come back to you when I'm lifting the rocker cover off itself. See you in a wee minute. So one wee thing I forgot to mention round the other side of the bike was this little trim piece has to come off as well, and it's a number 4 Allen key. That's that one. That's that one loosened. Get a bit quicker with this thing. That's that off. There's no washers or anything. It's just the two wee fasteners in this plate. So I'll put them there. Two seconds. Just move my tools. So that's that off. Inside there you can see the end of the gasket. That bung there is attached to the silicon gasket that goes all the way round. So I'll get to that in a wee second, but what I like to do with my magnetic tray is keep all the bolts and fasteners and things or whatever in their sort of groups, and then that way I'm not going to get them all mixed up, because I do get a bit confused with things sometimes. So that's that. So I'm going to go back round the other side of the bike because it's easier to, in fact there it is, it's just lifting just now, and that's that, it's coming off. Ooh, am I going to get this off with one hand? Nope, it's hung up on the exhaust valve. Yeah, it did that yesterday. The exhaust valve's in there and it catches the rocker cover. So what I'm going to do is remove this and turn the engine round until the exhaust valve, sorry, not the exhaust valve, the inlet valve. Inlet valve's at the back where the fuel and air comes in, and the exhaust valve's obviously at the front where the exhaust pipe is. So get it right, Douglas. It's the inlet valve So what I'm going to do is turn the engine, and then when that drops down, it'll give me the clearance to get this off. Right, so I'll get back to that in a wee second. I'll set the camera back up. Right, so after I switched the camera off, I gave the rocker cover a wee wiggle and it actually cleared that inlet valve. So that's that removed. And yesterday I cleaned up the inside. There was a lot of old silicon, little bits, this silicon spaghetti stuck to it. So I got all them off, removed the stickers, gave it a wee bit of a clean. I haven't polished it as yet, but I gave it a clean and put some ACF 50 on just to protect it, but I'll get to polishing it later on. So I'll put that down just now. I'll take the gasket off. It just sort of gently lifts clear, and then pop this out. So that's the gasket. It's in good condition. Again, yesterday I cleaned all the little bits of loose silicone off of it. So I'll set that down in there inside the rocker cover. And what I also had to do yesterday was clean all the old bits of silicone off round here as well. I cleaned all them off with my fingernails. You don't use anything like a screwdriver and start digging in, or razor blades, because you'll just ruin this surface, and this surface has to be clean and smooth. So I did that yesterday as well. What I'm now going to do is remove this, and what you need for that is a HW14. That's what's written on this big ass Allen key. So I'll pop the camera back in place and I'll get that taken off. Give me 2 seconds. Just check you can see what I'm doing. Nope. See, when the sun's out, you can hardly see the screen. Yeah, you can see that. I'll get that in there. That's it, loosened off. I mean, this does fit, but there is a very slight amount of play, so it might not be exactly the correct thing. But it works for me. But it'd probably be worth your while if you're doing this. Check out exactly the right size, because what you don't want to do is just chew this up. I mean, you can get new ones fairly cheaply on Hitchcock's, but like I say, that fits, but it's got a wee bit of play in it. Also in the service kit from Hitchcock's, there's a new rubber O-ring for in here, which I haven't fitted because this one still looks really nice. But I'll watch. If I start to get any wee oil leaks dribbling out of here, then I'll just refit it. I'll put the new one in. But as it stands, this one's pretty good. So I'll pop that down there inside the rocker cover.